Alright, brace yourself, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a jolt to the system. It's raw, it's real, and it's long overdue. This is about South Africa, and the uncomfortable truth that most won't say out loud. A country that claims to be the beacon of post-apartheid reconciliation has been turning its back on an entire group of its own people. White South Africans, especially the Afrikaners, have been demonized, discarded, and disqualified from the very nation they helped build. Since 1994, they've watched as a new system rose in the name of fairness, only to find themselves cast as permanent villains in a country that once called them countrymen. Now here's the twist of all twists. On June 18, 2008, in the High Court in Pretoria, Judge Cynthia Pretorius issued a ruling in case number 5925107 that should have sent shockwaves across the land. Chinese South Africans, a community of around 10,000 people at the time, were reclassified as black under South Africa's broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act and the Employment Equity Act. Why? Because they had suffered discrimination under apartheid. Fair enough, they did face injustice. But here's the absurdity. This means that Chinese-owned businesses under the law can qualify as fully BBBEE compliant without employing a single black African. Meanwhile, white South Africans, some whose families have been here since 1652, are denied the same consideration, labeled as not African enough. They are told in not so many words to move aside, to stay quiet, to disappear. Can you feel the sting of that? Centuries of heritage, identity, and sacrifice dismissed with a legal sleight of hand. Let's break this down. BBBEE. Broad-based Black Economic Empowerment was rolled out in 2003 to address the wounds left by apartheid. The aim was to give black Africans, coloreds, and Indians an economic boost through preferential hiring, ownership schemes, and access to government contracts. On paper, it sounds just. In reality, it's become an inflexible, racially obsessed bureaucracy that sorts people into winners and losers based on the color of their skin. And after the 2008 ruling, Chinese South Africans born or naturalized before April 27, 1994, joined the list of the empowered, not based on need, not based on current oppression, but based on a formula that now excludes an entire demographic, white South Africans, by default, no matter their circumstance. So what does that mean for someone born to a white farming family that's tilled South African soil for generations? Nothing. No assistance, no preference, no voice. That child, no matter how poor, no matter how committed to this land, is told they're part of the problem by virtue of birth. They are penalized not for what they've done, but for who they are. Now let's get factual. People love numbers, so here they are. According to a 2021 BBBEE Commission report, 62% of top management roles in JSE-listed companies are still held by white individuals. But context matters. White South Africans are about 7% of the population. On the surface, that seems disproportionate. But dig deeper and you'll find a different picture. Those positions are shrinking for whites. The very same report shows that BBBEE pressures push companies to hire black, colored, Indian, and now Chinese candidates, even if that means passing over more qualified white applicants. Job ads often state BBBE candidates only, which is shorthand for if you're white, don't bother applying. And it's not limited to boardrooms. Government contracts, massive drivers of the South African economy, are awarded to companies that tick the BBBEE boxes. That often excludes white-owned businesses, especially small family firms that can't afford to restructure their ownership or give away stakes just to comply. They're not playing a game with loaded dice. They're not even allowed on the board. Then there's land. Always land. South Africa's land issue is drenched in history and pain. According to 2023 data, about 73% of privately owned land is still in white hands. That stat is thrown around as if it alone proves white privilege, but it omits everything else: the bloodshed, the threats, the farm attacks. Nearly 300 white-owned farms were attacked in 2023 alone. 49 lives were lost. These are not statistics. These are fathers, mothers, sons and daughters. The government says the violence isn't racially targeted, yet it refuses to release crime data broken down by race. That silence speaks volumes. And all the while, BBBEE and new land expropriation policies keep pushing white farmers into an impossible corner. They're vilified, marginalized, and stripped of support. Their legacy is rewritten as one of theft alone, ignoring the generations of sweat and stewardship that went into working that soil. It's a quiet purge, but a purge all the same. Now let's talk Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch, French and German settlers who've shaped this country's language, landscape and economy. Yes, many Afrikaners were linked to the apartheid system, but not all were powerful. Many were poor, many were just trying to survive. And in the post-1994 world, it doesn't matter what side of the fence they stood on. If you're white, you're guilty by default. Over 100 race-based laws now tell them they're second class. These laws don't ask if you were complicit, they don't care if you were born after apartheid fell. They simply assume white equals advantage. And yet, the state is happy to celebrate Afrikaans when it suits. The tourism industry is happy to market braais and folk music and Afrikaner culture when there's money to be made. But when Afrikaners ask for inclusion, for fairness, they're told to keep quiet, that they've had their time. Let's revisit that 2008 court ruling for a moment. The Chinese community suffered real injustices. Their fight deserves respect. But if they, who were sometimes even granted honorary white status in the 1980s, can now be deemed black under BBBEE, why can't we at least admit that many white South Africans are suffering too? Where's the logic that says one group's historical pain justifies economic redress, while another group's current pain is irrelevant? Poor white South Africans are told their history makes them untouchable. Never mind that many are now among the unemployed, the homeless, the desperate. BBBEE isn't even working for the people it claims to uplift. President Ramaphosa himself admitted in 2021 that the system is riddled with corruption. Deals often benefit politically connected elites, not the truly disadvantaged. Small black-owned businesses can't navigate the complex red tape without expensive consultants. Meanwhile, white-owned small firms are choked out entirely. This isn't justice. It's a caste system dressed in the robes of redress. It doesn't break down privilege. It rebuilds it with new architects. And at its core, this isn't just an economic debate. It's a question of identity, of belonging. White South Africans aren't asking for handouts. They're asking not to be erased. They're not denying apartheid was wrong. They're saying, don't make us the scapegoats for a history we didn't all author. Elon Musk, born in Pretoria, Afrikaner roots a product of this soil, called out these policies as racist. He was slammed for it. But was he wrong to ask whether it's fair to shut people out based on race alone? 30 years after apartheid, we were promised a rainbow nation. Instead, we got a system that trades one racial hierarchy for another. The 2008 court ruling should have forced a reckoning. Instead, it became just another symbol of a state that picks and chooses who gets to belong, who gets to benefit, who gets to speak. So here's the challenge. If this story stirred something in you, don't scroll past, don't look away. Subscribe, share, comment. Tell your story. Let your voice join a chorus demanding better, not just for white South Africans, not just for Afrikaners, but for every person in this country who believes that fairness should have no color. If we want a future where everyone has a seat at the table, we've got to stop letting the system rewrite who gets to call themselves South African. Because this isn't about race anymore. It's about justice. And justice, if it's not for everyone, is justice for no one.